Here we go. This is slightly different to the usual format. So this is welcome to the BS Junto uh, podcast with also video on this occasion. So this is, I guess, we could call this the self-isolation episode or the lockdown quarantine episode. So we're having to kind of improvise with our with recording of podcasts because we obviously can't congregate and aggregate. But we've got the usual team of people here. That's Mario Bonfrisca.
Hello.
Peter Moller.
Hello.
And myself, Rob Spencer. So in terms of topics, we usually do a topic-based episode. This might be a slightly shorter episode, depending on my internet connection. In terms of topics, I guess we're going to keep it a little bit free and loose and talk. There's a couple of things we're going to talk about. A good place to start, though, is talking about the current situation that we all find ourselves, these times of uncertainty with COVID-19 issues, the worldwide pandemic, and coping with lockdown. So you guys, I'm quite well and good. I'm doing okay. I'm quite comfortable working from home. But I realised early on that it's kind of a good idea to have a routine and some sort of structure and consistency. What about you guys? Is there a particular approach you're taking to this? How are you finding it generally?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have spoken about this before. I haven't been very good till now because I found myself procrastinating a lot. Mostly it's because all my routine, everything was built up. All my motivation, all my discipline was built around a set of habits that I used to go through every day before. And I usually never stay home. I very rarely work from home. So for me, I've changed a lot. And I've been a bit stressed, mostly because I found myself not being able to focus on the tasks I have to do. And in the last couple of days, now it's 1 week and a half, I'm self-isolating. And in the last couple of days, I'm trying to set up a new routine, but I'm still finding difficult to adopt it and to stick with it because it feels like I have so much time in my hand because there are no the usual meetings and things like people you need to meet or place you need to go. So now you're home and it seems like I have all the time of the world, but then it end up that I don't do anything because keep like leaving stuff for later, and then I reach a point where I look at the time and it's too late now. I need to go to sleep, and it's kind of frustrating. Just before I was writing a list to plan my new ordinary day, so I know the new day like, and I put down a set of tasks a main task I usually do every day now, and that is gonna become my habit, I guess. I hope, and see if that works. So today is my first day of trying to go back into self-discipline, and yeah. What about you guys?
What do you think the issues are with like the procrastination, Mario? Is it too many distractions working from home, or just kind of not used to it being a place where you sit and do work and stuff like that? So I got really into the habit of working from home, and I understand the distractions that are there. So when I was doing my PhD, I did a lot. I spent a lot of time working from home, and I had an office. And once I kind of got used to it, that a lot of solitary time, and being good at avoiding the distractions. So there's so many things to distract you. There's so many other things you could do. is it kind of that? Is it sort of like, oh, I just log on and do this for 5 minutes, and then before you know it, 2 hours?
I'm not sure whether they are actual distraction, because mostly when I procrastinate, I find myself um, not doing much at all. You know what I mean? It's not because I deviate from what I should do, like my main work, main task, and going to do something else which is irrelevant. It's no, I'm not stop writing to go and play some games. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just procrastinate. Um, Sometimes I get lost in thinking, and you might say, well, that's not really procrastination, but it is, because then I don't do the work I should do, right? And I think the main thing would be the reason, I guess, is I did build my motivation around certain tasks I usually do every day. I was telling you last time, for example, exercise for me is a big factor in my daily life, because I know that even if I'm tired at the end of the day, I will go to the gym or go for a run, and no matter what, because and that builds motivation and self discipline. So I create that discipline around exercise as well. Um, so that motivates me to do other things as well. But for example, when that um, stopped, because obviously I can't go to the gym and I'm limiting my running as well to avoid people outside. Not for me mostly, but for them. That's all the motivation I had to do the other tasks also decreased. I don't know. To be honest, I just feel lost with all the time I have in my hands, and I'm not used to it, because it seems sometimes it seems like you are under stress because you have so many things to do during the day. For example, other people set a meeting that you need to attend, or you need to do a certain thing within a certain deadline, and you feel stressed. By the end of the day, if you think about it, that actually helps you to organize your days, because it gives you some baseline on how to organize it. Because if you say, like, okay, I need to do this by this time, I need to organize this other task around this thing, this deadline or this meeting. So it kind of gives you a structure on how to structure your day. I mean, a basic structure on how to organize it. While now it's all up to you. There is no baseline. There is no you know anything to go around it. You know. Say, I mean, like,
Yeah,
now the day is free, and I can organize my things as much as I want, however I want it, and so I get lost. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of what you've said already is kind of I've identified that myself as well. Previously, before this lockdown, I've kind of consciously um, tried to avoid working from home. I have my home view it. I don't doesn't mean I've never work from home, but mostly I try to view my home as a free space where when I come home in the evening, it's more of a place where I relax and do other things that are not related to my work. Um, so therefore, my usual routine, I guess, is built up towards going into university and working from there from my desk, and it's very set up for me to that I do work outside of the home. Um, Whereas this has obviously changed the situation. I don't have any ideal place to work. I have my dining room table, but uh, you can get kind of the chairs aren't meant to sit on for ages, and it's not the best place to work from. Um, so it's been a challenge in terms of trying to find something that works around just the physical work environment and the ideal physical work environment, but also trying to defeat this the concept of having my home as a place that's unrelated to work. because obviously if I want some work done now, it needs to happen in the home. And like you mentioned, Mario, the essential thing here, I've tried to consciously think of my routine and set up a routine that um, the difference between work and leisure time is separated more by the routine, and once the routine is finished, I guess that's when I'm free to do what I want to do. It's been a challenge, and it's not been a perfect ride yet, but I'm realizing more and more that I need to I need to go through this routine, this morning routine much more, and I need to follow this structure in order to get things done. And also, like I mentioned the other day, it's been the interesting part about this. The coronavirus and the pandemic is obviously a terrible, terrible situation, and it's ruining businesses, and there's financial impacts from it, and it's of course killing people and overflooding the hospital. So that's obviously terrible. But for me personally, it's a unique opportunity to inspect my own self-discipline in this matter, because there's no one else. Like when I go into university, I'm sat next to other people. I talk to them, I know them, and they can weirdly enough see that whether I'm being productive or not. Whereas now it's all on me. There's no one looking at whether or not um, I'm productive, and I need to make sure myself that I keep myself accountable to a much higher degree than I did previously. And it's a unique opportunity in that perspective to uh, kind of inspect or understand where I'm at in terms of self-discipline and improve that more so than ever before. And it's an interesting thing that this obstacle, and it's obviously an obstacle, has become so useful in doing this, I think. And potentially then the outcome can be that I'm more productive after this crisis than I was before.
I agree. That's the thing, because it hasn't been useful for me so far, but I see the potential. And that's the thing, right? The thing is, I expected me to be ready for something like that, and then I got frustrated because I found myself not knowing how to organize myself. But the thing is, like, I need to accept that it's something new, which I haven't seen before and haven't experienced before, and I start to give myself time to adapt to it. But the thing is, even going out, waking up in the morning, dressed up and going out, that was already a task that you achieved in the morning. So now you just wake up and you have breakfast, but then you stay home. So it feels like I don't know, you stay in your comfort zone, your cozy area, and I don't know. It's not helping me. I do need a bit of a kind of a very small level of stress in order for me to be productive. So again, as Peter said, I haven't managed to master it yet, but I'm starting to recreate a new routine, recreate myself at the end of the day. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting point about that Peter just made as well about like this situation that we all find ourselves in. We can either see it as a terrible thing and suffer and something to be suffered, or we see it as an opportunity to sort of come out the other end better and improved in some way. And like I said, I was used to working from home. So I did it for a number of years, and I'm used to working on my own. But as you guys know, in the last few years, I've been going to work a lot more, and having having a small child around the house creates distractions and makes it difficult to get work done from home. So I've established a routine with regards to my work and my day. I start the day with a run, and then have breakfast, like you say, and then into work and other things. But it's not been smooth sailing entirely. What I've found is I've kind of created lists of do this job, so to-do lists, and creating a to-do list and then not getting through most of it is quite disheartening, isn't it? It leaves you a bit frustrated at the end of the day. And I'm kind of having this debate. I know we did an episode on productivity, didn't we? And what Mario said earlier on about selecting sort of one task for the day, something like that, like your highlight. I think that's probably a good idea. But what I've been doing so far is been working in really fractured time. So like an hour doing this, then half an hour on that, and then an hour on this. And I kind of, at the moment, the debate I'm having with myself, and I'm going to have to just trial and error and experiment with this, is that a productive way to work, or should I basically, on a particular day, pick a task, something substantial and significant, worthwhile, and make that the main focus of my day? I'll have to do other things around that as well, but block out a big chunk of time and focus it on that. So rather than lots of little things and the potential to get frustrated from not doing them, have one main highlight, one main focus for the day.
Yeah, it's as I mentioned, I haven't fine-tuned this routine that we're all trying to work out myself yet, but I think I mentioned this to Mario previously. It's something I've been playing around with too, whereas I have say, for example, Monday to work on my MSc and research, and Tuesday to work on my any BS Junto related content, and so on and so forth. Of course, the MSc is pretty much on hold at the moment, but there is some things I can do. But I've been also been playing around. I haven't actually done this yet, but I've been playing around with the idea of having set dates for certain tasks, and I think I don't think I'll find a definite answer. I think this is a continuous process that I need to constantly fine tune, but I think it will get better as these next days, weeks, and potentially months progress. But depending on the task at hand, it will need some amendment as well.
Yeah, I thought about doing something like this, Peter, like you've just mentioned, like sort of block out a day, like this is a study day. This is a day where I work on, studying and reading stuff to skill up, and stuff that I'm trying to teach myself, say, for example. I've not got to trying that out yet, but that might be sort of on. That might be what my schedule looks like next week, but we shall see.
Yeah, I think I will need to try that too, because what I'm doing now is I'm trying to to separate the day into main blocks, like morning and afternoon. And like the morning, I'm doing stuff for my master, for example, and in the evening doing other stuff for my other stuff.
Just a quick question on that, because I thought about that briefly as well. But I also like to set out a certain goal, like a goalpost. So, say I have some marking to do, and I have 40 reports, and then I usually like to say, okay, I'll do 10 today, and then 10 is my goal. If I do more, that's fine, but 10 is my goal. And say if you get up at 6 in the morning and then start your work, and then you change your day at 12 or at noon. So you do your masters first and then BS Junto after, and you don't reach your goal that you set for the first half of the day. How do you address that? Or do you even have those?
Yeah, I haven't been setting any goals because I don't have any. No, I mean, you know what I mean? I don't have some specific goals right now. I know stuff I need to do, but since I don't have deadline, there is no really point of setting like some specific goals. So like if I need to do some writing up, I'm just saying, okay, I'm gonna spend 3 hours doing writing up. I'm not gonna be. I need to write thousand words. You know what I mean? Because it wouldn't make sense. So so far, I mean, again, it's just a couple of days. I started with this new um, um, way of doing. So far, what I'm doing is, again, I start in the morning. That would be like 3-4 hours. I'm focusing on writing up, and as example, and then in the evening I'm doing all the stuff I want to do. Um, because what I was doing before, I would be just setting up some specific tasks per day, and then some of them would take too long. I wouldn't finish it, and then I would feel bad to move on on the next one because I haven't finished the first one, which is the main one, and I ended up not doing exactly what I wanted to do. While now, if I set half day for a specific, not specific thing, but yeah, I mean for one task, even if I don't finish it by then, and I will just go for a lunch, and then in the afternoon I move on to something else, and so I will come back on the first task on the next day. Again, I'm just experimenting right now, so I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah, the first week, this now is again it's my second week. I'm self-isolating, and the first week I tried different things. And nothing has worked so far. And so in fact, the first week it was just wasted, which yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe being a bit more specific. I think it's difficult if you set a task. I'll write 2,000 words, and then you don't hit it, you get frustrated. But I'd if you're writing, I would try. I think. I mean, this is something I've been doing on a morning with some work that I'm doing at the moment. Is I follow that advice of I think it came from Tim Ferriss when he's writing a book of two shitty pages. So basically, sets this really low threshold of minimum acceptable amount of work to produce in a day, and then if you hit that, then great. If that takes you 25 minutes, then you've hit it, then great. But what you'll often find is you kind of get into the flow once you've started doing 2 pages, and will go beyond that, so you produce a bit more. So I reckon Mario, like sort of deciding the general task you're going to do, but sort of put some specifics on it might be useful. It might not. I guess it's going to be personal preference, really. What works for you?
But to be honest, what also I just realized it today. Since this started, I was I consciously, unconsciously, I don't know, but I was like, I'm gonna have so much time now, so I can start to do more things than I used to. And then what happened is I start to have in mind so many things I want to start doing, which I kept postponing before. And then I couldn't choose what to do first, And then like I spent the whole day, I spent the whole day thinking what to do first, and then I ended up not doing anything, And now that's why that's why this
you're
week
paralyzed by the choice. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's
I'm not going to check my journal, but I've done the similar thing, Mario. I kind of, all right, I thought, okay, so what would be if I can use this time really well, what jobs work, what should I prioritize, what should get done. And I twice made lists, starting with like the 7 things to get done over the next 6 weeks, 2 months, however long this might be.
Yeah.
And then made another list of similar things in a different order as to what's the priority. So yeah, lists are great.
Yeah, lists are great. I've had, I think we've all had this issue, and you see it on Facebook all the time. It's like, oh, now that you have all this time, do some reading and stay at home or whatever. And this always happens to me where I get paralyzed by the amount. Like, it's like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I want to, like, there's so much I actually want to do, and I started thinking about it, and I'm paralyzed and I do nothing. And I think it's good, Rob. I haven't done this, but I like the idea. At least is good to write down a list of these are all the things I'd like to do. I've identified them, but in the next coming week or 2 weeks, I'm only going to focus on this and that. So I'll forget about everything else. And if it's time bound, so if it's a task that's time bound, like I mentioned, the assessment marking, once I'm done, I'm done. Then I'll get on to something else on the list.
Yeah,
I can pick up something else. If it's not time bound, then it's slightly different, I guess. I mean, it depends on how much time you're using on it. If it's a new skill, then you're going to use a lot of time on it in the beginning, and it'll slowly decrease as you get more proficient. But it's I think a list can be a good idea, but you need to use it correctly. And in the beginning, like Mario mentioned, in the first week, I was completely paralyzed by everything I wanted to do. And I want to learn this and that. And, I want to get really good at coding, like even better at coding. And fact is, first week did almost nothing. And
and then you start to be even more frustrated because you're like, now that I have the time, I'm not doing it. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
There is something very wrong with me. And then you get into this vicious circle of negative thoughts.
Yeah.
I think there's a danger that similar issue that the only thing I've produced during this time is lists of things I'd like to do.
But you're really good at writing lists.
That is definitely not going to happen. That is definitely not going to happen. I will produce some worthwhile product or piece of work. But let's move on, guys, and talk about well-being generally. So I mentioned before, I'm kind of getting out early in the morning, going for a run, nice and early, see a couple of people, that's it, keep my distance. When I run near where I live, I usually run around a park, and there were kind of exercise, they're like pull-up bars, dipping bars, things like that in the park, and they've been wrapped up now, so people can't use them. Yeah. So I'm still getting my run in, but not doing those other exercises. So I'm kind of looking at what exercises I could do from home. So on an afternoon, I've been taking it in turns with my wife to she'll look after the baby for half an hour. I'll do some yoga. I'll look after the baby for half an hour. She'll do some yoga, that type of thing. So there's a kind of another, you don't need a lot of space, kind of another option. But I've also, following Mario's recommendation, I've also ordered some resistance bands and that to try do some more kind of some other exercise, to give myself like the option of doing other exercises whilst I'm indoors, just to look at, to make sure I am staying physically, mentally, emotionally, all in good shape. My house is reasonably small. I think you'd struggle to get them at the moment because they're probably all sold out. But I'd have space for barbells, dumbbells, gym equipment, stuff like that. But what about you guys? Have you been taking a particular approach to this? Is there anything that you've been doing at home and stuff?
There's the running. I love running, so I try to keep doing that. And while discussing with my girlfriend, we've been thinking of doing this quite early in the morning when there's unlikely to be anyone else outside. So get up a little bit before 6 and go out, and there's a little park area outside where I live, and do some laps there. And also, what I've kind of figured out, usually I try to go to the gym, but now I can't. But I figured out that there's actually a lot of good free content online, especially on YouTube. If you know what you're looking for, there's a lot of online home workouts and yoga sessions, and a lot of this stuff is freely and readily available. And it's a perfect time to use this kind of stuff. And if you don't have like a yoga mat, then you don't. Yeah, you can use other stuff, I guess. But it's just the funny thing is, it's almost easier for me to work out now than it has been before, just because it's become slightly. It's a bit of the highlight of the day. An issue with this lockdown is that I feel that there's too little stimuli. Whereas the workout kind of provides that in a manner I think is useful, and it's easier to get motivated for it.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, in terms of what you're talking about, too little stimuli and stuff like that. This is like an additional challenge that my wife and myself are kind of facing at the moment with having a baby. We kind of we usually take her out. We usually do things with her to wear her out so she sleeps better on the night. And it's kind of harder to do that now. So you can run around in the garden a little bit, but for a limited amount of time before that becomes boring. So yeah, we sort of like the same sort of thing. You kind of need to use a bit of energy, don't you, and not just laze around.
Yeah, it makes me think of another topic that I'll bring up a bit later. I'll let Mario talk first.
Yeah, go on.
To be honest, I'm not really good at exercising home, for the reason you just mentioned, because I feel too cozy when I'm home. While like when you go to the gym, it's much different, because you go there is the environment. There's you need to work out hard. While when you're home, you just you are in your in your don't know cozy cozy housekeep. Yeah. Yeah. But I've been running. That's basically my excuse to go out, at least, and to remain sane for now. But I do have some weight, which basically one of my friends left it for me, because he was moving out, and he just gave it to me the other day. So I might be using that. No home. What I'm planning to do is to or wake up earlier in the morning, or when I'm going for a run, spend half an hour extra to do some weight exercise as well. The only problem is they're heavy, so I cannot really bring them to the park. The park is like a couple of kilometers away from my place. But yeah, so far I've just been running. It's been fine. But like I usually go to the gym 5-6 times per week, 5 times, and I kind of miss it. I kind of miss the feeling of going to the gym at the end of the day and put all your stress away. But yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna mention. Sorry, no, go ahead, Rob.
Oh no, go Peter. I talked.
It's slightly different. It's a slightly different topic, but another interesting aspect. I guess it's not as much. It's kind of the opposite for people who are single and living alone. But living together with another person, it's weird, because the dynamic is suddenly changed. We're used to not seeing each other for half of the day, and suddenly we have to work on top of each other. And we share the same workspace, the same working hours, and like right now, my girlfriend is sitting in the same room that I'm recording this podcast in, and it can quickly, I think, become a conflict situation where you get annoyed at your spouse or your partner or your girlfriend or your boyfriend because you have a tendency to step on each other. And there's something we quickly realized that this is, in order for this to work and to not ruin our relationship, we need to work as a team, and we need to set out and be clear about our needs and be clear about how we need to work around each other to make this relationship work while we're also having our professional lives together on top of each other. And it's weird, but it's really, really important to consider yourself a team and to make sure that I'm accommodating Ida, my girlfriend, as much as I'm communicating my needs back, and that we respect these boundaries. I think it can quickly become a friction point in the situation, and it can destroy not only the relationship, but your productivity and the amount of work you get done, and any workouts you might have, because you're constantly on top of each other. And we don't have a kid, so I'm not sure how that works with a kid, Rob, but I'm assuming it's even more so when you have to cooperate between taking care of a kid that's not getting too much stimuli and you needing to get your work done, and your spouse needing to get her work done, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've kind of we've had to juggle this. Obviously, the baby's at home with us, so we've had to juggle. I look after the baby for a bit, and then she looks after the baby, and I do my work, that type of thing. And you do, yeah, you at times like this, you have to kind of try to be more tolerant, don't you? Because you're used to your own personal space, much more personal space than is currently available to anyone. So it's quite easy to become irritated with each other and things like that. So I think it's just a case of bearing that in mind as well, and not getting too irked about things. I did give this some thought, and I was thinking that a lot of people are cooped up with their families and things like that. You're assuming like the police, won't be that busy, but I imagine this could be an exceptionally busy time with lots of kind of domestic disputes and things like that, where people, for a long period of time, people are kind of cooped up in the house together, and they wouldn't routinely be on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, with it, and kind of the baby, it adds an extra dimension to the mix. But Mario, what were you going to say?
No, I wasn't going to say anything specifically, but yeah, I do agree with Peter. But I do think, since this is a moment of crisis, to be honest, it's not like a ordinary period. It's much easier to letting things go, because first of all, you have in mind that it's not something is gonna last forever. Mm-hmm. And then to be honest, for me, everything is so surreal right now, that is, for me, it's easy to accept things that before I wouldn't, because like, this is a special situation. Anyway, besides that, I guess it's useful to put yourself in the shoes of the other person you live with as well, because sometimes it's easy to be selfish and think just about your needs. But to make things work, especially when you don't live in a huge flat, you need to organize yourself, and sometimes it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling myself, but yeah, it is doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Go ahead, Rob.
Now, go on, Peter. I could. Something
Well,
that
I
Mario
decided,
tells us off for when we're recording just with audio. So go on.
Yeah.
it's as long as you're mindful of it and you're going into it with a mindset of, okay, my spouse or my partner or whoever it is needs their space. It might be, if you're living together with a slightly more extended family as well, it might get worse. But you need to respect that, okay, other people need their space and they need their conditions to do their work. But I also need to be clear about what my needs are. And I've had a lot of meetings online lately. And in relation to that, I've been clear that I need a space where there's not too much noise when I'm having these meetings. And at the same time, my girlfriend has been quite clear about that she needs table space for her computer so that she can actually conduct some teaching online. And I need to respect that. I can work from this chair or the couch, whereas she needs more physical space. And we we just trying to work with what we have and understand that I can't be too selfish in the situation, because if this is kind of an interesting game theory situation, I guess, but I need to give some and take some and have some cooperation in here for this to work.
Okay, guys. So just to wrap up, talking about well-being and wellness, looking after your health. I guess we should mention that, like in previous podcasts, we've talked about the ultra marathon we were doing, and that was due at the beginning in about a week and a half's time at the beginning of April. That's obviously not going to happen now. So, with depends on how you view it. With either being saved from 42 torturous miles, or we've missed the opportunity to engage in team-based flow hacking. But yeah, so that's what's going to happen there. I guess is still up in the air. They might move the date to later in the year. If so, we'll pick it up there. But for the time being, because of all these things, because everyone's locked down, you can't aggregate that event. It's just not possible for it to go on at the present moment. So it's just a shame. I'm a bit disappointed with that. This is the first week I've really upped my miles as well. So
yeah,
but
it's to be honest, I was totally not ready for it, but I was really mentally. I started to get ready, and yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because I wanted to test myself. I wanted to see how we work as a team. I wanted to cry. I haven't been crying for a long time, so that was a good chance to cry. But let's hope it's gonna be postponed at least, and we can we will update our viewers if there are any interested, and we're gonna create some content for that as well. So yeah, let's hope for the best. I really want to run it.
Yeah, I guess if you try to view the benefit and the silver lining and everything, then it will allow us to prepare a bit more. It was, to be honest, a bit of a, considering that it's an ultra marathon, it was a bit of a last minute decision to run it. I don't know if we'll be able to complete it, but I think it would be more painful than it would need to be if we prepared a bit more. At the same time, it might be able. This might be able to, if they decide to postpone it and have it at a later date, then this might allow us to gain like possession of or get a better GoPro camera or something. I don't know. Mario is more into the filming than I am, but something that allows us to get more better content to put out there than we would have if we run it next week.
I was going to say it'll allow us to get under 8 hours as well. So.
Yeah. Under 8 hours is a dream again, Rob.
Not with the right prep. Not with the right prep. Anyway,
no, I like this idea of pushing ourselves, and that too, I think, is an opportunity to actually, jokes aside, I think it's a good opportunity to push ourselves further than we would have been able to if we were to run it next week. So I think a more realistic goal, looking at the profile and everything, if we had run it next week, is around 10 hours. But now that we have probably at least a couple more months to prepare, and then I'm guessing more like a half a year, then we might get further.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we will be better prepared. That's all I'll say. I think. So, guys, let's talk. Let's talk about. We mentioned that the situation we're in is very game theoretic. The way we behave is influenced by what other people are doing. There's interdependence to our behaviours and the well-being of everyone and how this turns out. So Mario and myself wrote blog articles applying like a game theoretic analysis to some aspects of this situation that we find ourselves in. Mario wrote one in Italian to publish for followers that speak Italian and people in Italy that read our stuff and listen to our podcast. I wrote an English version that they were quite similar, and basically those articles did was we looked at a particular area of behaviour, which was the stockpiling of food and panic buy-in, and we compared that to a prisoner's dilemma situation where everyone acts out of short-term self-interest, and it results in an outcome or a worse outcome than was possible for everyone involved. And that's the situation that we found where some people started panic buying, they started stockpiling. That prompted other people to do it. Was captured, I think, quite well by the prisoner's dilemma situation. It's that particular model from game theory, the prisoner's dilemma, where some individuals defect, and the only rational thing for other individuals to do is to defect. I don't want to say too much or elaborate extensively, because hopefully people will read the actual article and find it interesting. And we suggested that solutions to that type of situation and solutions to stopping the spread of the coronavirus involved correlated equilibria, and those are equilibria where there is some sort of device, correlating device, which provides guidance, provides information as to how people should behave, what decisions they should make. So in terms of panic buy-in, that correlating device would be sort of sanctions or limits on certain items that people can buy, or rationing is probably the accurate term for it. And in terms of reducing the spread of the virus, and the sanctions imposed by governments in places like Italy and now here, of people having to stay in their houses, not being able to congregate. This was another example of a correlating device. It's like a game theoretic solution concept proposed in the 70s by, I believe, by Robert Ullman. So it was kind of interesting to write that, and it demonstrated, it kind of shows you the utility, the practical utility of theoretic ideas and predictions, and it also shows the power of the prisoner's dilemma to capture quite complex real world situations in a simple way. But so it was kind of nice for us to publish that. But you had some discussion, sort of comments and feedback in it, didn't you, on your wall from people? So we should probably talk about that, or to what people thought. Hopefully they'll find it interesting.
I'm the guy in the BS Junto who knows least about game theory. I'm not completely unaware of what game theory is, but compared to you guys, I know less of what it is than compared to you. And funny enough, I shared it on Facebook, as I always do, and I've had more engagement with this than anything else. I guess it's because it's relating to the coronavirus and the pandemic, and human behavior in relation to this, and it's a situation that affects every single one of us, and in some way, and as such, there are more people interested. But yeah, I've had some really good engagement and honest and yeah, people who genuinely want to discuss it, and it's different from different perspectives. So people from different countries commenting on it is obviously going to differ because different governments act as this correlating variable differently. So in the UK, it has been really no attempt from the government to officially sanction or ration, and viewing it from the government's perspective, I understand why, because there's actually an increased amount of resources available in grocery stores now compared to before the virus. Still, people empty the stores. So there should be no reason to impose rationing because there's more than enough for everyone. But the factors are able to screw it up anyway. Whereas compared to the people I've spoken to in Norway and engaged with there, I think Norway was able to see what happened in terms of stockpiling in other countries and respond to it before it happened in Norway. I haven't been back in Norway for quite a while, so I don't have any first-hand experience. But talking to people who are there now, they say that the stores made sure to kind of show everyone that there is more than enough of these items that usually are stockpiled for everyone, and it's been quite well, I'd say, communicated that there is enough for everyone compared to here. But discussing this from different perspectives, where if you're successful early on in communicating that there's no need to stockpile, then the need for rationing might be different. You don't need that Leviathan to make sure that everyone acts according to the rules because people feel safe. But here, around where I live, if you go to the store at the wrong time of day, there's nothing there. And say if you're working for the NHS or somehow you're a key worker, then and you're unable to go to the store at any other time, then you're out of luck. There's just no food for you. So the need for that Leviathan, that bigger big brother to make sure you don't stockpile is suddenly present. So yeah, discuss that a bit with commenters on Facebook, which has been interesting because I think everyone agrees that if it's not necessary, then you should let people buy whatever they want, and that's actually good for the economy because that means money is still going around. People aren't being too protective. But yeah, it's very situation dependent.
Quite interesting because that's in fact confirmed the theory of the prisoner dilemma, because they have managed to reduce the fear and the panic buying from the beginning, so no one defected, and that means no one was defected as consequences of someone else. So that's another confirmation that it is like a prisoner dilemma scenario. But I was interested in knowing whether you know more or less what type of communication they've used to avoid people to go into this panic buying.
I haven't gone too deeply into this, but the people I've talked to from Norway suggest that it's just been very well communicated in media in general, and communicated by the government that they're monitoring constantly the availability of food and items in general, and that they kind of vouch for it, there being availability. There's no reason to stockpile. Um, and
Right.
I guess the thing is, I haven't paid too much attention, but they mentioned that if people start stockpiling, they'll implement measures to stop it. And then also stores in general, like the toilet paper section of the store is just there's an endless supply of visual, like it just seems like an endless supply of toilet paper. They've just crammed it with toilet paper so that it's obvious that okay, we're not this store is not going to run out of toilet paper anytime soon.
Yeah, that's
so
yeah, that's very interesting because it's at the end of the day, it's quite simple to reassure people, but something that simple seems like most of the countries haven't even thought about it because it's easy. It's very easy to avoid unnecessary fear by just saying that's how many people live in this country, and that's how much storage, how much products we have. So that means it's enough for everyone, and everyone. There will be some defectors, but will be much more sporadically than now, because people will be reassured that there is enough for everyone. And it seems, it's a quite easy solution. I don't really understand why no one have adopted. I mean, no one have tried to reassure people on this point of view, because everyone is reassuring about the general situation of the COVID, but no one seems is really doing anything specifically to avoid the situation of this panic buying behavior.
So would you agree, Mario? This is, I mean, I agree with you. This is a solution, and it confirms confirms the prisoner's dilemma, like the theory behind it as well. This is just another type of correlated equilibria, albeit one where there isn't it isn't backed up by punitive sanctions in some way. It's like they've provided useful information at an early stage to get in front of it, indicating to people how they should behave, or what decisions what's a good decision to make, and that seems to have reduced defective behavior. So it seems like Norway have kind of made quite a smart move there. They've used a more moderate and kind of at the end of the day less regulated correlated equilibrium than other places. What do you think to that, Mario? Would you agree?
I think so. It's more like I think it's more like a prevention device rather than it would be something like limiting people how much they can buy. That's more a monitoring system, I guess. Well, I guess Norway adopted something that went to touch the prevention part.
I guess expressing the will to change the tactic should people not adhere to it. I also has some effect. I mean, if you say, okay, look at this, there's more than enough toilet paper for all of us. There's just not going to be an issue. But if, however, people start to stockpile, we will implement measures. Then not only you're preventing it by showing that you're not gonna, you're gonna get your fair share of toilet paper, but if you start taking more than your fair share, then we will ensure that you don't get any, like you just everyone gets a certain portion.
So that first thing you mentioned there, Peter, that showing people there's more than enough toilet paper, that providing that information, that is the correlating device. That's the correlating device provides information, guidance, and kind of that's what they've done there. Seems like have done it much better than other places. But yeah, so it's good that we've got comments, and I did see also. It's nice that people are engaged with the articles. I hope they stimulate the discussion and thought and things like that. But I got a similar message saying that kind of been a lot more engagement with the article, probably because it's topical than most of our other blog posts and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah. So we should probably wrap this up now because we've been going for quite a while, and we've all got other things to do. I was thinking we could maybe just finish with with sort of some book recommendations. Is there anything in particular that you guys are reading at the moment that you're enjoying? Is there some lockdown literature that you can recommend? I'll start so as not to throw you under. But I've read this a number of times. I know you guys are kind of know it's an impactful book as well. But I've read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. His account of his time in concentration camps and his description of logotherapy, how we develop and choose the meaning of our life, essentially. I've read that a number of times, but I'm actually listening to the audiobook version at the moment. And that's been useful, and it's also a good, I think, reality check in times like this, because it reminds you how good we do actually still have it. We've got food, I'm quite comfortable, I've got heating, and when you think about things that other people have endured, this is kind of a drop in the ocean, essentially.
I've been going back much more deeply into stoicism since everything started, mostly because of the idea of accepting what's happening. So now I'm reading, I'm going through the meditation by Marcus Aurelius just to, be more reflective of what's happening right now, and be more accepting of what's happening, and don't stress out because I can't change it. So yeah, that's to be honest, right now that's what I'm reading. I have some novels which I don't think is a recommendation for this situation.
Stoicism's a good choice, I think, Mario. And kind of there's that classic line from Marcus Aurelius in there, is to keep your philosophy at hand for when you need it. And this is kind of a good example of a time when it is needed to bear those, to remember that the content and character of our lives are chosen by us. So it's a good opportunity to kind of actually live out or practice some of those Stoic principles. I've been doing something similar. I've gone back to, as you guys know, I kind of read the meditations. I read a passage from the meditations every day. But I've also gone back and picked up the discourses of Epictetus again, and I'm kind of reading just a passage from Epictetus every day as well. Certainly a great thinker at times when you feel like you're enduring something.
Yeah.
Do you have any more, Mario?
No, go for it.
I think, like you mentioned, especially that quote from Marcus Aurelius, where keep your philosophy at hand. I think it's useful in this time. If you can't use it when you're at your most challenging part in your life, or the most a difficult section of your life, then it's really not worth that much. And keep your philosophy at hand. As for specific literature, I've been trying to reread a lot of Ryan Holiday's books. The Obstacle is the Way. And I also love your recommendation, Rob. I think that's if it's a book you should have, it's a really short read, and if it's a book you should ever read, it's that one. As for myself, another book to put everything into perspective, to make it so that to understand that we're not actually that bad off, even if the situation is horrible. Is two books by Primo Levi. If This Is a Man, and The Drowned and the Saved. They're both really good books talking about his time in Auschwitz, or concentration camps, and he talks about how horrible humans can become. And keeping that in mind, I think, is useful to reflect on what we're actually fighting for every day to maintain the good in us, because there's a lot of good things happening currently that aren't being picked up by the media and everyone else, just because good things usually are less interesting. But at the same time, you can see that when the situation worsens, people also become less heroic and less good, because they start to defect. But understanding what we're fighting for and what we're fighting against, and to stick on the path and stick to the path and remain the good person that we think we are, I think is useful. So those two books are useful, very good to put things into perspective.
Cool.
I think
that's some heavy reading. I was thinking, have you guys got any fiction? Have you guys got any fiction recommendations?
I do, actually. But it seems like we've been quite heavy books. We have recommended quite heavy books between, especially the Primo Levi's ones. They're kind of, you need a lot of.
They're not the. Yeah, they're kind of dark.
They're emotionally heavy. That's what I meant. But if you want to read some fiction and some novel, I do suggest Murakami. That's fiction-wise, in its genre at least, is quite a good read. So Kafka on the Shore is a very nice book, and I'm trying to look at my my bookshelf to see which one I can recommend. There are so many of them. I like reading novels, but I don't want to give too many suggestions. So I would say go for Kafka on the Shore from Murakami. It's a very great book. You wouldn't regret it.
Okay, that sounds cool. I've in terms of fiction, there is a fiction book. It is linked to Stoic philosophy as well that I've been meaning to read for a while. It's actually here, and it's a man in Full by Tom Wolfe. But you can probably see why I keep putting this off, because it's quite a chunky book. Maybe in these months of lockdown, I actually get around to reading that.
I've been meaning to read Dune, which is one of the classic science fiction books. I haven't done so yet, but it leaves you guys with a lot of recommended reading, if there's any spare time, I guess.
No one's got any excuses for saying they're bored now. There's plenty to do. So all right, it was good catching up with you guys, and hopefully this episode will it's kind of a bit of a random episode, but at the same time hopefully it'll let people at least feel like everyone's connected, and the discussion was worthwhile, and we're all in the same boat at the end of the day. And we just need to make productive use of our time. So you guys want to wrap up? Any closing comments?
I think if people have anything, we've discussed a bit of game theory and a bit of life hacks in general in this situation. If people have any insights or disagree or agree or anything really, and I would love to hear it, and anything that can help me improve in this situation, I would love to hear. And I think the same probably accounts for you and you, Rob, and Mario as well, and other people listening as well. So if people have any insights or anything they'd like to share or anything they'd like to discuss or ask, then please do so.
we're gonna look at recording a few more episodes. This type of Skype, Zoom type of meeting. And Mario's even floated the idea of doing a live.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. If anyone is interested, so they can interact with us, to ask us questions, or just giving their opinions. So let us know if you actually like this content, like setting, and then we will for sure keep doing it for our sake as well. And then we were thinking about to do a live, so let us know if you guys are interested.
Okay, that's it from me. I've got nothing else.
Cool.
I guess that's goodbye.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye. Thanks.